yeah, I mean,
Rich, who do we have around the room there with the Steffes?
I tell you what, we've got quite a few people. I'm going to, we actually have the HR person here, Kimberly Height, who is really actually the vice president of people and culture, but she's the HR person who's been my contact here at Steffes. We have the supervisor here, Bethany Kovash, and there is a nominee, Lucas Kubik. And there was a president of Steffes, Todd Mayer. And there is, yeah, your name is Plummer. Jessica Plummer. And there's Paul Steffes, who was, I think, the founder of the company and was involved. And here is one of my committee people here, Stephanie Reed.
Oh, Stephanie. Oh, yeah. Stephanie made it. I just got done putting something on her LinkedIn site, welcoming her to the organization.
Oh, so, good.
I tried to be very nice, Stephanie.
We've got quite a few people here from the state for this presentation. I noticed we've got Janet Fetch, who's our ESGR support technician in Bismarck, Paul Bonicelli in Fargo. We've got Spry, David Spritzanatic in Bismarck, and Diane Laffin and Arlen Frederick, who are members of the state ESGR committee. And they're out there in their offices looking at this presentation today. So I think we'll go ahead and get going here. So
sounds good.
I think most of you know that Steffes Manufacturing has been in Dickinson for a long time, and Steffes has really been known for its production of metal work for the oil field, other kinds of things such as heating units. It originally started for replacement of skis for snowmobiles way back when, way back in the long, way back when, we put it that way. But Steffes has an employee force of about 300 people here in their Dickinson plant. And out of those 300 people, they have 36 veterans, and they have 13 that are active in the Guard and Reserve. And indeed, one of those employees is our nominee here, Lucas Kubik, who is a member of the 957th Multi-Role Bridge Company in Bismarck. And he nominated his supervisor, who is Bethany Kovash, and they both work in the safety department here in the Dickinson plant. So, you know, I've got a few things I'd like to read here about this nomination, and this is for the Patriotic Employer Award. We've got several letters here that came, one from our national chair, Ron Bogle, and Ron Bogle, and I'll give you a copy of these letters here. He says, I want to extend to you my personal congratulations upon your selection as a recipient of the prestigious Employer Patriot Award. The award is based upon the nomination by your Guard or Reserve employee in recognition of your strong support for your employees' military service. ESGR, if you don't know, was established back in 1972 by President Nixon when we went from a draft to a volunteer force. And the ESGR, which stands for Employer Support for Guard and Reserves, basically is a volunteer unit under the Department of Defense that serves as a liaison between employers and employees. And what we do really is to help employers support their employees who are already in the Guard and Reserve. Ron Bogle, the national chair, goes on to say that your demonstrated spirit of cooperation and patriotism are in the highest traditions of your nation, and ESGR proudly salutes you. Now, you may not know it, but almost over half of our military strength is based on Guards and Reserves. So without the employer support of the Guardsmen and Reserves, we would not be as militarily strong as we are today. And we all know that this still is a hostile world that we live in. All we have to do is look at the Ukraine. Need I say more? We also have a nice letter from Delton Steele, our state chair. And Delton says, congratulations again on receiving this very fine award. Says the Department of Defense shares citizen soldiers with their civilian employers many of whom provide significant support to their employees who are proudly serving in the Guard and Reserve. And this award recognizes employers like Steffes who provide outstanding support for the National Guard and Reserve employees. Because of your established support of our military employees, we're closing a statement of support, which we can indeed put up on your wall, and I have it right here, and the award itself. Now, I also want to read something from the nomination that Lucas sent in to the ESGR headquarters. Bethany Kovash, my supervisor, is very flexible when it comes to drilling dates and allowing me to take leave for my military service. My company covers 10 paid days for annual training, so I don't lose any benefits or pay from my civilian job. I've never been hassled by Steffes. That's good. About my military occupation. You may have been hassled for something else, not because of your military obligation. He says Steffes also recognizes all the guards and reserves and veterans and their employee on Memorial and Veterans Day. And I think that's very important that we recognize people who have made that commitment to serve their country and fulfill their obligation. So without that, and without any more from me, I'd like to present you with this very nice employer support of the Guard and Reserve, Bethany Kovash.
Thank you very much.
Would you like to say a few words, Bethany?
Sure. I'll just say a few words. So thank you to Lucas. It really means a lot that he took the time to nominate me for this award. I'm very honored by it. And I'm just really thankful to have Lucas part of my team. Just a lot of the military skills that he does use, or what he has learned, he does use in his everyday work as Steffes. And I think it helps make him successful and not only makes the Steffes team successful. And then just thank you to the company for giving me the support as his people leader to be able to fulfill his military obligations as well. So not every company does it. It's a choice to have some of those extra perks, and I'm thankful I have the ability and flexibility to help them.
Yeah, no, and you're right. It's not every company that supports its guards and reserves. Fortunately, here in North Dakota, we don't have too much problem with that, but there are other parts of the country that I think have a little different attitude, but we don't here. This is a very prestigious award, and we do not give that to everybody. So we go through, we look at the nominations, we screen it through an awards committee, which I'm a member of, which Delton is the chair of, and we make those decisions. So this was a decision that was made through a statewide committee, not just myself and not just from what you wrote or what Janet Fetch did or Delton Steele did. Delton, are you there? What happened?
I am here, Rich. Can you see me?
Why don't you say a few words, Delton?
Okay, well, thanks, Rich. And hey, just great job, Rich, on that presentation. And you know, I tell you what, being state chair for ESGR in North Dakota, even though I'm now officially a Minnesota resident, I spent all my life, except the last 3 years, in North Dakota after I retired. So I get the pleasure of doing this full time, and thank goodness for technology, as I mentioned earlier. But I try to get back home to North Dakota whenever I can. But you know, all I want to do is just really say thank you in 3 ways. Number one, Lucas, thank you for nominating Bethany for the Patriot Award. You know, you're holding down your military job, you're holding down your day job, and to take the time to nominate your supervisor for a Patriot Award through the Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve just speaks volumes about you and how appreciative of you are of a very supportive employer. Bethany, all I can say is thank you for doing your best to take care of Lucas, for making his life easier as a supervisor. I'm a former boss myself and had service members that were in the Guard and employees that were in the Guard. And I tell you what, you know, they need to do their military training. It's just not 2 days a month. It's not 2 weeks of training. You know, it's deployments. The training nowadays is is a lot more than what it used to be years and years ago. So it takes a very supportive employer to really make a difference for our National Guard and Reserve Service members. So Bethany, thank you for what you do to support Lucas in his military service. And to all of you at Steffes, I just want to say thank you. Obviously, when Rich read the numbers, I wasn't aware of those numbers prior to Rich saying that. But out of the 300 people at your Dickinson plant or your enterprise, 36 veterans that you have employed, 13 Guard and Reserve employees. Obviously, you're creating a culture that's very military friendly for these service members who are looking for good jobs and for taking care of them. I mean, that's awesome. Obviously, you get it. You understand the importance of it. And the one thing I never want an organization to step away from, and this is easy to overlook. You don't, you're running a company, you're taking care of an employee service member, you're doing the right thing. But by what you're doing is also making just a huge difference in the national defense of our nation. So without supportive employers, as Rich said, the number of service members that make up our national defense nowadays is a huge number. And they're not all active duty, but our country leans on the Guard and Reserve more and more all the time, and that's not going to change. And so it is an absolute honor for me to represent the employer support of the Guard and Reserve as state chair, to be a part of this presentation today, and to say thank you for the support that you provide to Lucas, your other 13 Guard and Reserve members, and just the part you play in the national defense. So thank you for that. And Rich, I know we've got some other great folks on here today that maybe want to say a couple words as well. And so I will turn it back to you, sir.
Well, does anyone else want to say? Lucas, do you want to say a few words?
I think I said it all.
Yeah.
Well, Todd, you're the president of the company.
Yeah, well, I can also say thank you, Lucas, for working here at Steffes and your service in the military, and all those folks on the call and that are here that have served or serve in the military or in guards. And and Bethany is supervisor. I can say I've been to a lot. It's very impactful at the company to go to the Memorial Day and Veterans when we do that lunch. And it is easy to get in this rhythm of business, and you're here to make products and and do all those kinds of things that business takes. And it really is impactful every year when we have those. It just causes you to really think there's a bigger purpose here, and we're part of a great country, and to be able to to support folks like this, and in some way support the the United States and military. And that was here before I started at Steffes, and since then it's been great to be able to do that, where we do the paid, where you're able to do that leave. That was, but it was not a decision that was hard for us. It certainly has a financial implication, but we didn't have to think about it too long with here that's really important to us. And really, this has been by far the best part of my week, to be here and just, feel like, making a difference in some life. So again, thank you, Luke, thank you, Bethany, and thank you to all on the call, and Rich for coming out to take your time to pause here, and, Stephanie to be here and do this. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your kind words. And that's what we're here for. That's what ESGR's mission is. Our mission's logo is "We all serve."
Yeah.
And we all do serve, one way or the other. And I think that's what makes companies like Steffes great, and our country great, quite frankly. Does anyone else like to say anything?
I would just say one thing, it's like, in a manufacturing plant where you got to work with your hands and do things. And it used to be, well, if you can find someone that grew up on the farm, they didn't know how to fix anything. And, the next best thing is someone that served in the military, and they've had a chance to wrench on a tank or an airplane or submarine or something. And they've gained a certain amount of world knowledge that certainly helps us in a manufacturing setting as well. So, it is a wonderful thing having veterans, here, and thank you for everything you do.
Well, Veterans know how to take orders and salute.
Oh, I didn't expect that.
And
Hey,
wanna
Rich,
thank-
hey, Rich, I wanted to go around the horn here. I mean, just for a second and just so the audience there at Steffes knows where everyone's located here today. That's on the call from an ESGR volunteer standpoint. We have Diane Lafine, Rich mentioned, she's over in our Fargo. She's part of our Fargo group. Obviously, you guys know Paul. Got Arlen, who's our co-chair for the Bismarck region. He's also one of our ombudsmen. Is our ombudsman director for the western part of North Dakota. Obviously, General Spritznatic, retired adjutant general for the state of North Dakota. He's also our military outreach director. Marlis Morgenstern, she's with the Department of Labor, but she's one of our volunteers and does a great job for us. And then we have Mark Nelson, and Mark heads up the police force and is the police chief of Grand Forks, North Dakota. So all the way across the other corner of the state. And Mark's retired command sergeant major for the North Dakota National Guard. And I also have a guest today. I have Sherry Adams, and I invited Sherry just because she's an honorary commander. And she joins me. That's one of my other duties. I'm an honorary commander for General Norman, and he has an honorary commander program, but Sherry is an honorary commander for the unit in Dickinson and does a great job there. And I'm trying to convince her to be a member of ESGR. And I said, hey, we have a Dickinson company on board today. Sherry, I think all of you probably know Sherry. She's in Dickinson. And so I invited her to be on the call today. And she's too bashful to have her camera on for us today. I said, hey, you'll get to see firsthand what we spend 90% of our time doing in ESGR. So Sherry, I don't know if you want to unmute at least and say hello. And
Where you at?
oh, there she is.
There she is.
Absolutely. And I know pretty much everybody around the table, so that's pretty exciting. And quite a few online. I'm home. I came home early for once, and I'm home with all my dogs. So that's why I'm not on the camera. Congratulations, Bethany and Lucas. I know Bethany really well from another coalition we work on. So I'm very proud of you, and obviously excited that a Dickinson agency is so proactive. I've had the honor working with the Guard off and on in different roles over 10 plus years. So I'm really excited to hopefully come on in a different capacity. So happy to work with everybody.
Awesome, Sherry. Thanks for joining. Yeah, I put her on quick notice today because I was talking to her about some other things and said, by the way, Sherry, have I got a deal for you today? So anyway, so with that, Rich, I will be quiet, and if anybody else has any, I'll turn it back to you, Rich. But great job today, and thanks again to everyone. And Jeanette, thank you. She's our quarterback. She's our one paid staff member. The rest of us are volunteers, but I call her the quarterback. She keeps us all out of jail or keeps us all going down the right path. And we can't do this work without her. She's located in Frayne Barracks over in Bismarck, by the way, for those of you that don't know. So anyway, back to you, Rich.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Delton. And I think we're pretty much done here. I do want to say something before I go. Special thanks to Kim Height. Without her help, we would never have gotten this going today. And as I said before, she's a vice president for a long title, but HR, human relations, people and culture. There we go. But without her help, we could not have got this going. And Lucas, thank you again for the nomination. And Bethany, thank you for working with Lucas. And as we said before, ESGR is important, and we all are important to serve guards and reserves in our country. So with that, I think I will cut her off and say adios. Goodbye. Thank you all for joining
Thanks, everyone.
the state.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.